Hello, folks. Welcome to Stages of Sound, a podcast on the internet where we talk about video game music, and that's our intro.
Yeah, boom. I thought it was pretty nice.
It's pretty,
could have been worse.
Yeah, and we're going to do it the exact same way every single episode. Hold me to that.
Yep. We will never change it. Definitely not on purpose.
I guess I'll give like a quick rundown. This is episode 0, so we don't really have a very clear focus this time. But we both like music, and we both like video games, and we both like music in video games, and we talk about it like a lot. Like we found ourselves, I think, just messaging whenever there was like a cool soundtrack in any given video game. Like we were talking about Tears of the Kingdom, etc.
Pretty much.
And we were just like, hey, what if we capitalize on this and just like record it for the internet while we have these same conversations about video game music?
Sounds like a plan to me.
Yeah. So that's
the basic gist.
That's what we're doing. Welcome to the show, folks.
It's going to be a little more casual, but generally on each episode, we're going to try breaking down one game or one series, have a themed discussion around that. And then at the end, we might go into like what we've been listening to lately, what sorts of stuff has been appealing to us, stuff that we couldn't necessarily make a whole episode about.
Yeah, exactly. Do you want to? We could use this episode as like a bit of an intro as well, like who we are and why we're talking about.
I was thinking of that as well.
If you would like
in
to
general,
go first.
Sure. My name is Jack. I've known Mackenzie for a good number of years now, since we were kids, I guess.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed video game music my entire life. My family in general is very musically inclined. This stuff probably doesn't matter that much. Basically, video game music has always appealed to me. Honestly, probably even a little more than regular music. I don't know what it is. The context that you hear it in, I guess, leaves a lasting impression in some regard.
What is regular music? What does that mean?
Yeah, well, all right. I apologize for my inconsiderate phrasing of that. Like mainstream stuff, but some would say that video game music is mainstream these days. Anyway, I've had like a couple high school classes about music, so I sort of know what I'm talking about, but much less than the other guy here. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I will also not pose myself as an expert here. I'm an undergrad music major. I'm a composition major in university, so I know what I'm talking about to some extent when it comes to, music and music theory. But what I don't know what I'm talking about is when it comes to music in video games specifically. So I'm still
Wait, that's what you don't know about?
I don't know a whole lot about how it works, so I'm not going to try to pose myself as like an expert here. It's more of an appreciation kind of podcast, not just like I think it's cool and I think this is how it works.
Yeah, I mean, we'll go into like why we appreciate the stuff that we appreciate,
for sure.
But we probably won't break it down super deep.
Yeah, so I mean, for those of you who have already been on the channel where this is being uploaded, if you're on YouTube, you know that I do talk about video game music. I don't make video game music, not yet. It's kind of a.
You've made a couple tracks. Don't put yourself down.
Not
nice.
Well, not really. Like I've never worked on like a proper game that's like.
What was that one? The Winter Forest. Everybody go listen to No Kid's Winter Forest song. He hasn't uploaded.
Fuck that. Well, that was never even in anything. That was just a pitch. No. I was. Well, technically I'm still on the Discord, but I don't know what's happening with it. I was working on Ross O'Donovan's Crypts and Creepers, which is like a Minecraft mod that he was working on.
Did that fall through?
Well, it seems like he's kind of given up control of the project to like people who were really active in the Discord and kind of became quote unquote project leads. So I haven't been active in there in ages, and I haven't written anything for the project in probably about a year, and I probably won't for the foreseeable future.
Gotcha.
Because for me, I don't have very much experience when it comes to electronic music, or digital audio workstations, anything like that. I use music notation software called Sibelius, and in Sibelius, it's not really designed for audio production, but I use something called Note Performer, which makes it sound a bit better. But there's only so much you can do with like the mastering or the mixing. So there's a discernible like difference in quality. Like if I knew how to properly make video game music or electronic music with a different software, that would be a different story. I am considering going to do some graduate study in like music for screen and for like film and video games.
It's a worthwhile pursuit.
Depending on what works out. My my quote unquote expertise is in contemporary music, and for me that means contemporary classical. So I know how to write for acoustic instruments and instruments in traditionally like classical ensembles, but in a new musicy kind of experimental way. So
jazz, he means. He means jazz.
I don't mean jazz at all. Actually, no. I know very little about jazz. I mean like what's a good example? Like new music, contemporary music. If you look at my SoundCloud, which I don't know if I'll have linked. It's probably, you can find it somewhere if you search out Mackenzie Hey composer.
You should probably link it.
I'll probably link it. It's fine. You'll see what I mean though. It's not the most mainstream stuff. It's kind of people like to use the word accessible when it comes to music.
I don't know if you're selling it to them at the moment, but
there's a certain audience for it. It's fine. It's just that's kind of the area that I've been working in, and I've been going to some programs and whatnot for things like that. It's my area of study.
Understood. But you don't need to be able to write video game music to appreciate it. Yeah. So what I was thinking, we should, just like as an icebreaker question, what is our favorite video game soundtrack in general?
Holy shit. Well,
I know that's a big question to open with, but
for me,
if you had to pick one.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about it. I think Celeste. But that might just be tied to it being my favorite game in general.
I mean, it's hard to separate them, and that's sort of the point, right? You get attached to the context, and then the music makes the context hit harder, and the context makes the music hit harder.
Well, exactly. I think the fact that it is my favorite game is definitely in part due to the music being very good. I'm also just a diehard fan of Lena Raine and her soundtracks.
I have something to say about that will probably make you unhappy. And
are you gonna pull the "she's not a game composer" thing?
No,
I'm gonna get mad.
What? Okay. What are you talking about?
No, I'm gonna.
Why would I be elitist about that?
So
what I was actually going to say that would be upsetting is I like basically every B side more than I like the original composition, and that might just have something to do with the fact that they get to bounce off of the well composed original tracks, but the derivation is more interesting to me.
I'm gonna hugely disagree. I
thought you would.
I think that the B-sides are fantastic. I think that they don't work well as video game tracks. I think they work really well as remixes and as something to listen to.
I might actually agree with you there.
But I don't think they correlate with the levels nearly as well. If you think about
with the exception that sometimes when you're dying over and over in a really hard platformer, sometimes you just want to jam out. And
right, but they let you do
that.
I always think about Celeste as a story-based game, even though it is a platformer. You really,
I don't think that's a hot take.
I think
Celeste is definitely a story-based game.
Yeah. So, for example, what's a good the Mirror Temple. The B-side is just a saxophone jazzy.
Hell yeah! And you're not going to tell me that it doesn't slap.
No, it's good. I would never write something like that for that level. That doesn't fit.
And that's why it works for the B-side, because the B-sides are the non-canon explorations of the musical theme that she's already been working with. And they get to have fun with it, to mess around with it, take it in different directions. And it fits enough, because if you're playing the B-side, you're not looking for the same thematic experience.
I definitely like the idea.
You like the idea, sorry?
I like the idea. I still don't feel like they match the levels, and I feel like they weren't written to match the levels,
Yeah, that's probably true.
Maybe they were. I don't know what the composers were given to work with. Certain ones do work, I think. The Golden Ridge B-side, I think works really
Golden
well.
Ridge is exactly what I thought of, yeah.
But fucking...
I think the Mansion works really well for that as well, actually. Because it's a more... it's more frenetic than the original track, but it still fits the atmosphere, I think.
Yeah,
it might just be Mirror Temple that really doesn't fit.
It fits the atmosphere in certain ways. Towards the end, the original track. I think the original track. What's it called? I can't remember. Of the Celestial Hotel, the original track is probably the best written one on the soundtrack, just in terms of how it matches up with what's going on.
It's very smooth.
Well, and it's very well. Dynamically, it works really well with what's happening in the game as well.
I think I might like Recollections a little more, but it's close.
Oh god, which one is Recollections? In terms of which level is
it's that? The second level, the dream stage.
Resurrections.
Did I say Recollections?
Yeah, you did.
Excuse me. I'm not super well versed on the titles.
I love Resurrections.
Resurrections is probably my favorite of the original track in that regard,
it's
especially.
definitely up there. It's fantastic because of what it does to the main theme of Celeste, like that main melody.
Absolutely.
It plays with it. Oh god, I'm going to do a full video on Celeste one day, and it's gonna be about how that theme is developed because it's so.
Oh, that's probably a good example of why it's your favorite soundtrack. Then there's lots you can talk about.
It's fantastic.
Oh shit, I need to.
Speaking of favorite soundtracks, Jack, what's yours?
Okay. I was thinking of disqualifying it, but it probably.
Why? Are you gonna say Smash Bros?
No, that I would actually disqualify. That's straight up.
Okay.
I like where your mind's at, because that would be an illegal move. It might honestly be Crypt of the Necrodancer. Genuinely.
Interesting.
And
that's fine.
That might be, and that's much less because it fits the game. Obviously, it does fit the game, but the game is about walking through a dungeon to the music. So the music being jamming is the whole point.
Yeah. Well, why?
It's not about the.
I don't think the involvement of the music with the game has anything to do with it being a valid choice for your favorite soundtrack.
I mean, I feel the same way, but the actual game that I was thinking of disqualifying, that I did disqualify in my mind, was Undertale.
Sorry, I peaked my mic. That wasn't good.
The thing about Undertale is. It is also it's probably better than Crypt in terms of the attachment of the music to the scenes that are happening. But I wanted to take a step back and say, just purely in terms of musical quality, I might enjoy Crypt of the Necrodancer a little more. And I know that you don't have a whole lot of experience with it. Yeah.
Well, I played the Hyrule one.
Cadence of Hyrule.
Yeah.
I liked a lot of the remixes in Cadence of Hyrule, but they're significantly worse than the original soundtrack to Crypt, I think.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know. Because the original soundtrack of Crypt wasn't trying to play off of anything.
No, it was making its own themes, and it did really well with them, I think.
Yeah, I'm not the most familiar with Crypt, but I would love to play it sometime.
It's a lot of fun. I feel like it got overshadowed by Cadence of Hyrule somehow.
Really?
I'm kind of surprised that they even agreed, Nintendo even agreed to lend them the IP, but I'm happy they did. I like that game too.
Yeah. Oh god, I gotta replay it actually. It's just sitting on my Switch.
Cadence of Hyrule is?
Yeah.
Did you beat it?
I did. I didn't do much past just the base game. I just kind of beat Ganon and that was it.
Yeah, 4 hours.
Yeah, exactly. And then I just haven't touched it since. I don't know. It's not it's. I always gravitate towards very
chill
games most of the time.
Crypt and Cadence of Hyrule are both not chill.
You got to be pretty tense most of the time.
But that's also part of why I really like the music does a very good job of mostly accentuating the beat really, really well. The whole game, the structure of the game, if you're not familiar with Crypt of the Necrodancer, is that similar to the game Hi-Fi Rush that came out this year, actually. Every single action that you do in this dungeon crawler roguelike, you have to do on the beat to the music. And the music does a very, very good job of making sure that it communicates to you exactly when the beat is and exactly when your actions need to take place. For the most part. I have a couple complaints about it, actually. Because there's a character who is named Bolt and another character named Coda who are played in double time. And there are a couple songs in there that are swing tempo. Do-da-do-da-do-da-do-da. And normally all you have to do is match the beat to the downbeat, right? The one, right? The 1 and 3.
Oh, but with double time, do you have to go
with double time? You have to go do da do da do da, even though the music is going do da do da do da. It's terrible.
Oh Jesus, that's
the
my
opposite
one complaint. Of grooving.
What? No, it truly takes you out of the experience. I've been thinking of downloading a mod that turns those songs into straight tempo.
That
even
exists?
though it's I don't know if it's I've been thinking of
that would be fantastic though.
Because those songs actively make the game harder to play because they're so groovy, basically.
Because I
know this was a discussion about why it's my favorite soundtrack, but you gotta identify the parts that have problems with it too, right?
That would definitely be difficult. I struggle with rhythm games when they're even a little bit out of sync because I always gravitate to the sound rather than what's on the screen.
That's what it should. It's a rhythm game. The whole point is to go to the rhythm of the music.
So I was in Montreal a couple of weeks ago, and there was we were at this festival, me and my friend, and there was a tent for an anime convention that had that, you know, that taiko game.
Taiko. I don't think
Like,
I've heard of it.
there's like a taiko rhythm game, where there's just like
Can you
literally
describe
no,
this?
it's a drum controller, where you have to hit either like the middle or the sides. I can't remember. What
Oh,
exactly
is that
it's
the one
called.
with like the little drum
Yeah, yeah,
mascot?
yeah,
The
yeah.
red one?
I can't.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
taiko something something.
Okay,
But me
sure.
and my friend were doing like a versus. We decided to go play it, and I lost crazy hard because. And I was talking to her after, and I was like, "What happened? Like, how did I fuck up so badly?"
Yeah,
And
I
she was
imagine
like, she was
I
like,
would feel pride in my ability to do it, so
"Uh,
I can imagine how you'd be like, how the hell did this even happen?
yeah, and she was like, "Oh, I was just watching on the screen because the audio was out of sync." And I was like,
Oh,
"Oh,
that's
oh,"
terrible.
because I was totally because it was like Attack on Titan Gurren no Yumiya, and I was just jamming.
Oh, especially because you know the song
Exactly,
already.
and I was like,
Oh,
I'm
that's
so into this, and I was
terrible.
just listening because the speakers, like, there was already latency, and then the speakers weren't like right next to us; they were kind of like at the front of the booth, and it
Oh
was like,
no.
so yeah, so I was like, how did I like? I didn't even pass the level. Like, I didn't do well enough to like clear the level. I was like, what happened? Like, I know I hadn't played this before, but really?
You didn't think you were doing that poorly,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, like I feel like my rhythm's usually okay, but
But you were using your ears and she was using her eyes.
yep,
That's rough.
That's how it goes.
Okay, hot take. We're gonna intersperse these through the episodes, I'm sure.
Hot takes.
Uh,
Yep.
uh, Attack on Titan's second opening is better than its first opening.
Um. Ooh, I definitely ranked them when talking to my friend one time. I can't remember.
But Our War is the best one.
Thank you. Oh my God. Yes, me too. Wait,
Yeah.
is that the one?
Based opinion.
Is that the one with like the it was like it's kind of yeah. It's the one with like the monochrome and like the paint. Oh God.
That's
Yeah,
such a good
it's
opening.
so cool, and there's such a cool counter melody in the second time the chorus plays. Anyway, holy
Absolutely.
shit!
Anyway,
I'm so glad.
little tangent.
I'm so glad you also have that opinion. That makes me so happy.
You're the first other person. A
one
lot of the friends
friend.
that I've talked to who absolutely hate that opinion.
Me too.
So,
oh my God. Okay, I have one specific friend who I really hope is listening. because she is very mad that I like that.
Feel
one better than
shame
all
in
the
your
other ones.
incorrect opinion. The
Um,
two people who have a voice here say that it's the best one.
Okay, well, I don't think there's such thing as an incorrect opinion. I think all of the openings of Attack on Titan
Are good.
kind of fantastic.
At least good.
There,
There's one of them that I wasn't a huge fan of.
yeah.
I think it was the third opening that sort of
Is that-
like
no,
felt like a rehash.
That's Sasageo, isn't it? That's like one of my favorites.
Oh, Sasageo is good. There was one that felt
I
very
think
similar to Gurren no
one-
Yumiya.
Yeah, the fifth one, I think.
And that one I wasn't a huge
that
fan
one
of.
is not my favorite.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway,
Anyway,
welcome to
anime.
the anime
Unfortunately-
music sound podcast.
We are both also moderate weebs, so you'll have to deal with that occasionally.
I talked to you about this the other day. My friends were like, if you make a spin-off series or like a side series or something like that, we can just call it the Hidden Sound Village.
Hidden Sound Village. Here's a question: How do you hide something in sound? Isn't sound like, made to be heard and discovered? You'd think.
What is a musical reference but hidden sound?
Oh.
Or a hidden little leitmotif.
That
What
was a
is-
very pretty turn of phrase, but I don't think it's going to stop the ninjas from breaking down your village.
They don't.
Anyway,
I don't
let's
know.
move on.
How do you
I had
hide it
another-
in fucking like
Leaves?
Light?
That's a good
Well,
question.
leaves makes more sense than like most of
Doesn't
them.
it? That was my point. Anyway, I had another topic in mind, and that was what is a video game that you've played that had a soundtrack that didn't fit it at all, that sort of actively made the
Ooh.
experience worse?
I wish, and it's more of a visual novel. You know, Coffee Talk.
I do know Coffee Talk.
It has this thing where it just plays like lo-fi beats on this like kind of in-game audio streaming thing on your phone.
Oh, it's that was ripped straight from Valhalla.
Oh really? Okay.
The game was also ripped straight from Valhalla, so that makes sense.
But I wish it just had its own dedicated soundtrack because it felt like there wasn't anything. Yeah, there's like a whole bunch of tracks that are all just kind of like generic.
Were they like
chill-
licensed music?
No, I don't think so. I think it was composed by a composer for the game.
Oh, and that
But-
doesn't count as a soundtrack too?
Well, no, it does. I'm saying it. I'm just trying to explain why I don't feel it fits.
Sure.
It like they all kind of just feel like generic lo-fi beat, and there's like 20 of them, and it's like I wish they had just like written different tracks for different
Occasions.
occasions. Like in the game, there's like the whole point is listening to these characters talk over coffee about like turmoil and like all these like slice of life like problems. So
and music is made to like accompany the stuff
exactly
that you're doing.
like
so
if the music would like shift depending on the mood of the characters, and like the lo-fi is totally fine. I think it fits great, but if it
in the chill moments for sure.
If it matched what was going on, and if it was written specifically for the game, like I can see how maybe it would get a bit repetitive, but if it changed like just enough depending on what was happening, I don't know. That's
I mean, the game, like I said, is very heavily based on Valhalla, Cyberpunk Bartending Action.
I don't
and
really
that
know
game
much
also
about
had it's coffee talk, but you're in a bar in a cyberpunk city. There you go. That's the gist. But it came first. It's very good. Play Valhalla, everybody, if you haven't. The soundtrack's also great. And the thing about that game is it has the exact same thing, where you have a jukebox that you line up tracks with, and it like goes through them throughout the day. You can customize them. Not sure if you can do that in Coffee Talk. You might be able to.
If you can, I didn't figure it
out. B, when really important scenes are happening, it will actually just like take over the jukebox and play the music that should be playing in the scene. Like when the really important scenes are happening. It doesn't happen often, but like when it has to, it can. So I'm surprised that Coffee Talk didn't do that.
I am going to have to play a bit more to make sure that I'm not totally lying about that, actually.
That was just your initial impression.
Well,
anyway.
I definitely remember playing it and thinking like, man, I'd love to make a video about this, but the music, there's not really anything to talk about here. I will have to go back and see if there's actually anything that changes when it gets to more heated moments. It might.
Gotcha.
We'll see. Anyway, that even just in like the downtime, I would rather like a dedicated soundtrack than like a bunch of different. I mean, I get the appeal of like flipping through it to see which one you like, but like, I don't know, it's not in the spirit of it for me.
Fair enough.
What about you? I feel like you definitely that question came from a place of having something to talk about.
You'd think it would have. The answer that I think I came up with was, funnily enough, also a visual novel. And there we go. There's the intersection between us being weebs and us being gamers.
Maybe visual novels just don't have good music.
Don't have good music. Well, like I said before, Valhalla has a great soundtrack. Go listen to it. Every Day is Night is an absolutely all-time classic, and nobody can convince me otherwise. However, there's another visual novel I played about a year ago called The House in Fata Morgana. Very good visual novel, but all of the songs, almost every single one of them, is a vocal track with a singer who's singing in Portuguese. And sometimes it's really, really jarring. And another thing that I've heard is supposedly, the game was made in Japan. It's not even set in like Portugal or Brazil. They just made the singer sing in Portuguese because it sounded like vaguely European, and it's set in Europe. And also, supposedly, it's also, how like when Japanese singers try to sing English and they don't really know how to speak the language, it's also sort of doing that. No, the singer was not Portuguese, and they didn't speak Portuguese. So
fascinating.
Like the music does it sometimes is really nice. There are some very good tracks in The House in Fata Morgana, but it's also sometimes like a little jarring, especially early on. So,
All right.
Did you have any topics for us, Mackenzie?
Well, I guess to be totally transparent, for the past 2 hours I've been finicking with. I keep using that's not a real word.
Finicking. It is finicking.
Is it finicking? Sure.
It's not a real word. No.
Okay, well, because the finicky. Anyway,
let's not be too finicking about our.
This is
word choice.
The test episode of a podcast. I don't even know if this will see the light of day. It might totally.
It might not.
We'll see. If you're listening to this, we succeeded.
Hell yeah!
But the point is, this is
give yourselves a pat on the back.
No, this is the very first time that I've tried to set up a recording like this. We are not in the same place. I'm recording like.
No. Don't break the illusion. They don't have to know that. Isn't that right, my good buddy Mackenzie?
So we're not,
as I put my arm around your shoulder and give you a noogie.
So we're not in the same room, basically. and I'm trying to record like 3 different audio tracks at once. Yeah. And it's a time.
There's a lot of complications.
Oh God, I feel like I definitely did have a topic, and it's gone. It's gone from my brain.
And it's gone.
That's the problem with going into a podcast recording, saying like, we'll just see what happens and what comes up next.
Well, one thing I wanted to, in general, what have you been playing lately that's caught your eye?
I've been playing exclusively Tears of the Kingdom for like 2 months now. Well,
Okay.
since it came
What
out.
is a sound a track from Tears of the Kingdom that you really like that people aren't talking about?
Okay, people might be talking about it. I don't know. I haven't been
Well,
looking
just
into it
go
too
for it
much.
then.
The battle theme, just the regular battle theme when you're
Ooh,
fighting bokoblins.
I
It
do
goes so
like,
crazy because it's different from Breath of the Wild in that it's
but yeah,
more
but
put
it's still
together.
using all the same themes.
It takes all of the themes and like little bits of music, because Breath of the Wild, it felt very scattered and very kind of it was never really a cohesive piece
Yeah,
of music.
it
In
fit
Tears of
Breath
the
of the
Kingdom,
Wild's combat.
it starts in the same way, but it slowly like locks together and becomes like a way more epic
It's like ba 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 ba.
yeah, like a full composed piece of music. Like it kind of blew my mind a little bit when I first heard it.
Yeah, it's I like it because Tears of the Kingdom also like has even wackier combat than Breath of the Wild. So like when you are driving your mech into a bokoblin encampment, and then like the trumpets start firing up, it's pretty great.
I still haven't made like a battle mech or anything like that. I haven't really.
Well, neither really have I. I put a laser on a bike at one point.
That's awesome.
And just sort of blew myself up, but that's fine. That's the intended experience, I think.
God, what was my stupidest little creation? I tried to make a catapult with a bunch of like stabilizers, and it did not get me very far.
What, you just like put two of them on the end of a big rock and then stood it up?
Pretty much, yeah. Or it was like a big slab or something.
Interesting. But it didn't work.
What else is cool? This was in Breath of the Wild, but like the Death Mountain remixing the. You talked about this.
I enjoy how like when you're in the burning hot areas of Death Mountain, there are like a very soft echo of the theme of Death Mountain from the original Legend of Zelda, which I appreciate because
cool.
I played the original Legend of Zelda and I beat it. So every time that song comes up, I get to brag about how I beat the original Legend of Zelda.
Good job. You did it. Good job.
Me and like 5 million other people.
There was one other
song from Tears.
Yeah. It's the track that plays. Spoiler warning. Maybe skip ahead like a few seconds if you haven't played the game or if you want to. It's the music that plays on the Rising Island chain on the way to the Wind Temple.
That's like the lightest spoiler on the planet, but sure.
Well, just the fact that that's where the Wind Temple is. Anyway.
I did that segment. I can't remember what the music sounded like. It must not have left an impression.
It starts very sparse and very quiet, and it builds with like different layers of.
Oh, I think it's coming back to me now that you mention it.
And at a certain point, I think when you get past like the second shrine or something on the way, there's like this crazy like bass clarinet drone in the bass, and it is music to my ears. Quite.
I'll have to give that a listen.
But also in there, it sprinkles little quotes from the wind or the Blight Ganons.
Oh.
Yeah, just little tidbits of like, bum 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 bum. Just like in the background of the music. It's very cool.
Interesting.
At certain points, it is in the foreground. Like the melody literally just plays on an accordion for like a couple measures, and it's like, but why? But why is it
why
doing
did they
that?
make the
Like,
why did they make the accordions such a staple of the Rito? I wonder. Why the accordion of all things?
Because it also played in Windblight, if I remember.
Oh, it played so much in Windblight.
But
I mean, all the Blight Ganons have the same theme. They just play it on different instruments.
The only reason I bring this up is because I haven't noticed that like Blight Ganon theme pop up anywhere else. It was just the climb towards the Wind Temple, and I don't know why that is. I'll
have to take a listen and try to keep an eye out for that.
It's very fascinating. Another fun little tidbit about the Wind Temple. I got there first without Tulin.
Without
you
Tulin? Got there without Tulin? How?
I went to the Rising Island chain, and I just didn't bring Tulin. I was like, oh, this is cool. I'll go up. And I got to the Wind Temple.
It's cool that they let you do that, I guess.
Yeah, well, I landed on the Wind Temple, and I tried to interact with the thing, and it gave me like the no, you cannot cross. And it didn't tell me why.
Honestly, I've encountered that a couple times. That's probably my least favorite part of Tears of the Kingdom as a whole, is that in Breath of the Wild, you could go anywhere at any time and do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And I understand that they have to put some limits on there to make the story work a little bit better, but it just sucks to like put in a lot of effort and get to a place and then just be told, you're not far enough in the story to do this. Sorry.
What makes it worse is that after I left the Wind Temple, I was like, okay, well, I guess I have to get this. I have to finish the Rito quest. I have to like go get this kid. So I
Yeah.
did, and I got to the point where he was like, "All right, let's go up to the temple." I'm like,
And then did you just
"Sick."
warp to the
I
shrine
did.
right in front?
I warped to the shrine, and before I did, it did that thing where he was like,
Oh, does he not come with you if you
no,
warp?
he was like, "Oh, that's not the way to Zelda. I'll go on ahead and see what I can find until you come back." What he
Oh.
actually means by go on ahead is go about a third of the way up, maybe, and wait on a boat for you to find him. It was impossible to
Uh,
find where he went.
oh,
And
that's way worse than even just starting at the very
so
start.
yeah, so I had to like backtrack through the whole island chain to find him and then work my way up. And the thing is, what I noticed is right before each of the shrines, there's like a little story beat where he has like a mini cutscene. And I
Yep,
think
I
those
remember
are
that.
the flags that let you
The
warp to
triggers.
those
Oh.
shrines. So you can't actually just so I had to do it twice basically.
Well, that explains why you had so much time to listen to the wind run
Yeah,
up.
I was and
Yeah.
I had listened to my sister play it like a few weeks ago as well. So I
So,
just like I just heard that
mhm.
music a lot.
Does the like when it gets more and more intense, is that just based on proximity, like where
Yeah,
in the level you
it's
are?
entirely
So
based
when you
on
went in backwards, it just like de-escalated the whole time?
well, I warped down, so I actually didn't. I didn't warp.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, I see.
But it's like specifically when you pass the second shrine, and I think it's just the boats kind of circling around the cloud. Is the point where it kind of gets the most intense.
Interesting.
It's very cool. I really really like it. I'd love to kind of look into it a little bit more.
Hmm. I was a little disappointed in Tears how the underground drone was a little disappointing. I
Hmm.
enjoy exploring the underground a decent amount. That might be a bit of a hot take, I think, these
I
days.
don't think it
Uh,
is. I think
well,
people pretty much
really like the underground.
people like the depths a lot. I think.
I've heard some mixed opinions.
Yeah.
I always like it, like anytime I can explore an underground area, I'm always excited in games. I don't know why. I'm not like a cave dweller in real life or anything, but like the underground in Diamond and Pearl when I was a little kid, I
Yeah.
would spend hours and hours down there. Anyway, I wonder if that rubbed off in other games or something. Uh, I really like exploring the depths in
Yeah.
general, but the music it's just not there. That's like the reason that I leave is just because like I gotta hear some more interesting tracks. This is not doing it for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think it's meant to be catchy. It's kind of doing that thing
No,
that
it's
like
it,
those
but I
games
wouldn't even
tend to do.
necessarily. It's not even setting the ambience that well. Like I don't really feel spooked. I just sort of feel bored.
What I really do like though is how the skydiving theme transitions into the depths.
Oh, I can absolutely
That's
agree with
so
that.
cool. Like you dive into a chasm and there's this
It is
huge like trombone pool
wow.
there. It's so
Yep,
cool.
it's great.
It actually
Absolutely.
like it made me feel like viscerally like whoa, this is weird. Like it was definitely
Especially
like
yeah, because there's a transition when you go from the sky to the ground as well. There's like a resolution that happens whenever you hit the ground.
yeah.
And yeah, it just like completely foregoes that when you go into the underground straight from the sky. It's very cool.
Yeah, it's very that game has pretty good music most of the time, I would say.
Yeah,
It's pretty
I,
good.
I, I complained about the depths, but overall, it's a good experience.
Now it's time for some actual spoilers, just for a moment. The themes of the towns when they're like all kind of messed up, they're very cool. I like the recomposed versions. Like the Rito Village
I've only
uses
heard Rito and Goron, but I did like them both.
the Rito Village.
Yeah, I liked the very like frosty and ethereal.
It
version
uses
of
like
Dragon Roost.
harmonics and like weird electronic like frosty sounds. It's very cool.
Yeah, I was a fan.
I think it was really well done. The
But
other
that
one
probably
is
it probably contributed to me also feeling like the big boss of the Rito reusing Dragon Roost again. I got a bit of fatigue of Dragon Roost by that point, and that's probably partly because it was also just reintroduced in the town.
I like that boss's music just because I think it's really, really well written. I think it sounds.
I can't argue with that.
I think it sounds great, and I also think the music in the Wind Temple sounds really good. But all the temples are fantastic. I think like the Fire Temple is also wonderful. Its music, but
I think overall, of the two that I've done, I think I do still like the Divine Beast music more because I actually quite like a lot of the songs that played inside the Divine Beasts. Like that ambience really worked for me. I won't say that it was amazing.
Did the Divine Beast? Did the music get more complex as you
solved it? Yes, and that's why another. I was a little disappointed that. Like, there's a lot of reasons to be a little disappointed with the temples being so similar to the Divine Beasts, but the music was the big one for me. How, like, it has the exact same structure that the shrines did musically.
But
which it
God,
works and it does
I think
work,
that the
but
Tears
it's
of the
still
Kingdom
good.
dungeons, I like the music better. I really think that because
I think it's a fair take.
the very start of it, there's no real tangible melodies or structure. It's just kind of like ambience. As you get into it, there's some like really cool orchestration that happens and really cool musical references. I can't really bring up any from my memory at this point,
I'll
but
take your
like,
word for it.
oh, I'm big fan of the Fire Temple and the Wind Temple especially.
I did like the ones I heard.
I cannot remember the Lightning Temple even a little bit. I'm sure it was fine.
I, you know, I sort of had a question that I wanted to ask, and that's like, lately when people represent like desert music, for example, I found that I think there's starting to be more variety in video game sounds. Like
Instead of just like this is stereotypically Middle Eastern, here you
yeah,
go.
here's a sitar. There you go,
Yeah,
boom. And that's a good thing, I think. Like
I
the Gerudo have
agree.
a little more variety in them, in musically at least, which I can appreciate.
Yeah, there's a little bit. There's definitely still that kind of like my issue with it is that it's very rarely an accurate representation of what Middle Eastern music actually is, and it doesn't really do
Yes,
any.
I can agree with that.
It's usually like because you have to think about the audience. The audience is Western
Is
largely.
generally not Middle Eastern, yeah,
Yeah, and the Western understanding of what Middle Eastern music is usually what's
or even
represented
the
in.
Japanese understanding.
Well, exactly. It's usually what's represented in films and games, so it's hard to kind of break away from that stereotype.
That'd be an interesting thing to study, like why that musical identity got cemented as firmly as it has. Like, was there a
Well,
centerpiece of media that created it? I wonder.
the real answer is like white supremacy, but that's a whole
That's definitely true, but
that's a
I more
whole
mean
rabbit hole.
like was it like a what is it? There was a movie about a guy in the Middle East that came out in like the 40s or something. That was a landmark movie. Maybe that had something to
Oh,
do with it.
I don't know.
I should probably know what it's called. Like the Alex of Arabia, Lawrence of
Lawrence of
Arabia.
Arabia. Okay.
Yeah, maybe that was like one of the stepping stones. Who knows? Anyway,
I've been like
uh,
fidgeting with two coins, and I've realized that like that's probably not the
yeah,
quietest thing to
I've
fidget
like
with.
moved around a little bit lately, and I realized, oh, that's really messing with the audio.
Well, I haven't
It's all
noticed.
all learning.
Yeah,
Uh,
we're doing our best, folks.
uh, the one I wanted to talk about that I've been playing lately. Have you heard of a game called Crosscode?
Yeah, I had the demo of it on my computer at some
Oh,
or on my
really?
yeah,
I'm sort of surprised to hear that. Neat. I
but I know
haven't.
very
Anybody
little
else that
about it.
I've talked about it has not played it or even heard of it.
It's
So
like a kind of RPG, right?
sort of. It's like an action RPG that's from a top-down
Yeah.
perspective. I've been quite enjoying it so far. I'm not super far in, but it's caught my attention, and part of that is because the gameplay is very like intentional.
Hmm.
For example, the combat, you start like there are enemies just walking around in the overworld, like in a lot of RPGs, but you only choose to fight them. Like when you can just run past all of them if you want, and like touching them doesn't start a random encounter. But the way the combat works is that as you fight more and more of them in a row, like without taking a break to get your health back or anything, it like ramps up your score, and the items they drop get rarer, and it really creates this frenzied energy. And what I really like about that is that the music starts out very like standard RPG combat music, right?
Hmm.
But when you get to S rank, it just like bursts into this. It almost feels like slot machine music if you get the
What?
vibe I'm going for. Like it, and like there are just like stars all around the screen because it's sort of hard to get to S rank and hard to stay there if you're not like really good at dodging enemy attacks because you'll get whittled down really fast.
Hmm.
But like the longer you stay in there, the more it just starts to feel like you've entered bonus mode at a casino, and I think that works really well. It's an interesting take I haven't seen before in an RPG, for example. And
That's
but and
cool.
like part of the RPG appeal is like the see the number go up, right? So there's a little bit in common with like casino mentality in that regard, I guess. Feels almost scummy to say it like that, but you get what I mean, right?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I gotta check out Crosscode sometime. I
It's
remember liking the demo, but never really being compelled to purchase the whole thing.
it's very good from what I've seen so far. The writing is really sharp. I that's like what I especially enjoy. And like the
Nice.
concept is being done in a way that could have been cliche and a little boring, but is actually like keeping my interest really well. So
Mm.
recommend it. Haven't been able to play it for the past week because my computer was unable to charge, but
But here
that
you are
just
on
recently
your
got fixed.
computer. That's nice.
And now I'm captured by a Fire Emblem Engage Iron Man. So
A Fire Emblem
after
Engage
that's
Iron
done,
Man. Okay, good segue. What is your take on Fire Emblem music? I think it's really good.
Fire Emblem music in general is very good, and that also was part of the reason I was thinking like desert music in general has improved, because
Oh yeah.
there's a song in Fire Emblem Engage, Bright Sandstorm, that is like it's the theme used for the desert areas, but it's really really nice and has a lot of varied instrumentation, and it somehow still feels right for the setting, but it's just fantastic. It's my favorite song from that game for sure.
If you had to give it kind of a style, what would you call it? Like is there
almost feels like
what instrumentation?
like Brazilian samba vibes a little bit.
Oh.
But like still there's a lot of like hey that sort of like chanting style.
Like within the music. Okay.
Yeah, and like another interesting thing Fire Emblem does is you know how it's got like the two layers.
Yeah,
there's
like battle
you're,
versus
looking at it.
Tactical themes.
Yeah,
yeah.
And like in that song in particular, when you go down into the battle theme, the hey chanting just goes on every single beat, and it just pumps you up.
That's fantastic.
But saying all of that, Fire Emblem Engage's soundtrack still has left me a little disappointed, in particular.
Compared to like Three Houses or...
Three Houses and Fates are the gold standard for the Fire Emblem series.
I know very little about Fates. I do know Three Houses is very, very, very good.
Oh, it's so... I could be here all day talking about Three Houses soundtrack.
Yeah.
A little anecdote for when Mackenzie was playing Three Houses.
Oh, God.
He was doing it at games night, and all of us who were his friends were around watching him, and he was like Golden Deer, and he got to the part where the dubstep people show up, and there's just a dubstep level as the penultimate level, and in this game that has been entirely like high fantasy medieval music essentially.
I was going to talk about that, yeah.
And immediately after the dubstep segment, he just turns to us and goes, what's next? Are they going to do an opera segment? And guess what's immediately following the dubstep segment? The final boss is an opera song.
Opera.
Yeah.
It's just an operatic tenor solo as a final boss thing. I will stand by that the Golden Deer has the best music in that game, even though I haven't played the other tracks.
Look, considering the Golden Deer has better music than most games.
I'm just like, where will it go from there? Like it's so well done.
I am a defender of Apex of the World and Funeral for Flowers. Both phenomenal tracks.
I think I have heard Apex of the World.
I think they put it in Smash, so I wouldn't be surprised if you had. Can we talk about the fact that they didn't put God Shattering Star in Smash? We're going to have to storm Nintendo HQ, I'm afraid.
Agree. I remember you had the take once, maybe a few years ago, that Smash Bros. Had the best soundtrack because it just had all the soundtracks.
I still might believe that, honestly.
I think because God Shattering Star isn't in there, you're now
wrong. That's true. Yeah, the Golden Deer route of Three Houses specifically has a better soundtrack than all of Smash Bros. Well, that's fair.
Yeah, that's my stance. I think I'll stand by that one.
Okay, yeah, I can respect a person who stands for their morals.
Yeah. God, yeah.
Other great songs. There are lots of great songs from Three Houses. I don't know if do you know the song "The Long Road" from Three Houses?
I want to say yes. I don't think I can remember it right now, but I definitely.
I really love the tone that it sets, especially in Blue Lines and Black Eagles when it plays. I'm not sure if it plays in Golden Deer though, and if it does, it wouldn't fit the tone nearly as well. But I that's like my favorite song in terms of tone setting. It really sets the bleak, like when mild spoilers for Three Houses. It was like all around the promotional material, but just a kid. When the time skip hits, like the mood really shifts to like war is hell. In general, in particular in Blue Lines and Black Eagles. Golden Deer a little less so. And the long road adjacent. They're like, war is hell, but we're still gonna kill people. We're cool with it. Just send tank knots out of the front line and see what happens. And are you gonna
explain that reference, or are you just gonna
No, I won't. Just gonna let it sit there, and you can imagine what it's referring to. Like it really sets the mood that like the war is a slog and it's brutal and there's nothing good about it, but you still have to do it. You still gotta walk the long road, right?
Okay, yeah.
It's a great song.
I will take a listen to it someday, I'm sure.
But it's not like a banger per se, but it is like, it fits.
What constitutes a banger? What makes something not a banger?
A song that I would listen to, that I might like show other people. It's a song that I would play in the club, but not actually the club. Clubs. But like a song that I would feel comfortable. Like if I was at games night hanging out with the boys, and I just put the song, attached it to the speaker, and played it,
Right.
and people might be like, "Hey, this is kind of a jam." That's a banger.
So you might really, really enjoy a piece of music, but it
wouldn't be a banger.
It might not fit banger. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call like Resurrections. I wouldn't call Resurrections a banger, except maybe like
so it has to do with kind of the
second
intensity
part
of it.
I would say so. A song has to be at least a little bit jamming to be a banger. How many layers of terminology can we throw on here?
I like that you said it has to be jamming to be a banger.
It has to be jamming to be a banger.
Jamming itself doesn't really have a definition.
Yeah.
So you could very easily be like, oh, so what does it mean if it's jamming? Oh, it means it's a banger.
Oh, that means it slaps.
Okay, so you can just keep going down this rabbit hole.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So it's just like this really big cyclical definition.
However, I did preface that with an actual definition. So
you did. That's true. Maybe that's why I would say, okay, jumping back to Celeste again, I think the B-sides are more bangers, say, than the original tracks.
Yeah,
I would say that.
That might be why I prefer them, because like they're the sorts of songs that I would like put on as I'm working out or something.
I will say, yeah, because I listen to just one of my playlists on Spotify is just Celeste music, and it's split between like, I will say, I will more often skip an original track for B-side than otherwise.
Yeah, but I can also understand your viewpoint of like that doesn't necessarily make them better songs.
Yeah, so it depends. Like just because I maybe would rather listen to them like on the bus or something, I wouldn't necessarily rather have them playing during the level, and I feel like they don't maybe match quite as well. But I will say I will often skip both of them to get to Farewell. Because
I'm not going to argue with the fact that Farewell is very, very good.
It's so good. The music is fantastic. They have like a live cello recording as well, which just sells the whole thing.
I played Celeste before the Farewell DLC came out, like just before the Farewell DLC came out, and I haven't played the Farewell DLC still, but everybody was raving about how good that music was, and I'm like, well, I haven't heard it in game, so I'm not attached to it. I'll give it a listen, but I probably won't care. No, it's very, very good.
It's really great.
I don't even need that context.
I can't remember what the song is called, but there's one that I was just listening to on repeat.
By the way, we should get out there on episode 0 so that we don't ever bring this up in like a real episode. We have to talk about the Game Awards 2019. It just
the
has
fact
to come
that
up.
Red Dead Redemption 2 fucking stole it from Celeste.
Celeste and Octopath Traveler, which are both like 10 out of 10 soundtracks, and what came out that year, which didn't get any awards from the Game Awards 2018 because it came out very late that year.
Xenoblade Chronicles 2, yeah,
which is the best soundtrack of those, in my opinion. I understand that you think Celeste is better.
It
didn't even get
close.
nominated.
It's definitely close. Xenoblade is fucking amazing.
We will definitely do a Xenoblade episode. Like, there is so much to break down.
I'm so sad. I was going to in Montreal. There was like a live concert of
Xenoblade you didn't Chronicles go see 2. It?
I had just gotten back to the city from the train, and I was tired, and I was like, I'm just gonna go to sleep.
One of those moments that you feel good about at the time, but then later on,
well,
you're like,
no, I think I made the right decision. It was like pretty far away, but it would have been cool. And that game has really, 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 really good music. Especially that one that I can't remember the name of.
Oh man, that one is so good. Say no more. Honestly,
it plays when that one guy
does the thing.
God, I hate that.
I will never be able to forget that.
What is it called?
Anyway.
Oh no!
I really like not Engage the Enemy. That's from Xenoblade 1. Counterattack.
I think that might literally be the one I'm talking about.
It almost feels generic, but like generic as in like they've perfectly crafted an emotional song, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like it hits all of the emotional beats so well that it almost feels a little bit like dry because of it, but it's sort of dry because it's so good, if that makes sense.
I think Xenoblade music always feels very anime to me, and I think it does it in a very good way.
It's like generic
it's embracing how anime the game is.
It's like how $1 million is generic, you know? I like receiving $1 million, but it's sort of uninteresting as a reward, wouldn't you say? If you gave me
so
like
much
I don't know,
potential in $1 million though.
Well, right, but like you have to really appreciate the value that you're getting from the $1 million. Otherwise, it's just a pile of paper.
Ah.
Yeah, see, the metaphor sort of worked out, didn't it?
I suppose so. The Leftheria Archipelago is maybe my favorite track on there.
I still think
wait,
Uriah is too good for me to
really good.
look at anything else.
And the what are the not the church guys? It's like the smaller. What is it called? Indal. Indal. All of their music is fantastic.
I think
all
the
of the
songs
stuff,
are just called Our Eternal Land and We Are the Chosen Ones. I think are the names.
Yeah. The choir ones they're just I can't get over it. They're very well done.
I found someone in a Discord that I was in actually recently asked for a song that is in the style of like a classical church piece, but that's about how much God sucks and how they want to rebel against them. And I'm like, I think by the nature of the church, there wouldn't be anything like that.
Yeah.
But Shadow of the Lowlands is kind of about that. It's about how like humanity is strong enough to do what they have to, and that everything sucks, but they'll stay strong. And it is like in a very like classical church sort of.
It's been ages since I played that game. I don't know if I remember that one quite as clearly.
Okay, fair enough.
What else is good? There's the night theme in Tantal, specifically the night theme is
but the day theme is so good too.
I vastly prefer the night theme. I think
the night theme is better. Don't get me wrong. I think
Tantal
is the one that is the most different, where both of them are the most similar in quality. In that they're exceptional.
Am I misremembering? It's the one with like the electric guitar, like harmonics, like. I think it's that. I think that's the one.
Are you thinking of that More Ardain, maybe?
No.
Okay.
Or maybe it was just electric guitar, but like without too much distortion. Speaking of More Ardain, though, the day theme in More Ardain is incredible.
It's a classic, right? It's like a Gara themes level of like iconic, I think.
Well, I don't think you could really match Gara Plains, but
no, you couldn't. But it's sort of close.
Yeah,
it's a very good song.
Did I tell you? I never actually beat Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I got to the final
boss. I didn't either. I gave it to all my friends before I actually beat it.
Really?
Look, I'm gonna be honest. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 has a lot of problems as a game.
Yeah.
But this podcast isn't necessarily about how good of a game we're talking about is. I'm not going to say it's terrible. If you like Xenoblade Chronicles 2, that's great.
A bad game can have great music, and I think Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is...
That was actually going to be one of the topics I brought up, is what is a game you consider to be bad, but that has phenomenal music?
I feel like I'm like very uncritical about game. Like I have a bad time calling a game bad.
Okay, fair. What's a game that you like the music more than the game? Then?
Sonic and the Black Knight. Is that a good answer?
Oh no, I think that's a very fitting answer.
Because the music is really good.
Can you just like slot like 90% of modern Sonic games in there? Sorry, it's low-hanging fruit, but
yeah. I mean, that's true. That's a really easy answer.
For me, I like this game. I'd like to preface. I would give it like a 7 out of 10. I enjoyed my time with it. Axiom Verge, I had a lot of problems with it. And some of the soundtrack isn't like particularly standout, but there are like the ambience fits very well, and there are a couple like really jamming tracks.
I really love Axiom Verge's music. I think especially kind of like the more experimental ones with like the the like weird vocals that are happening.
Yeah, like, absolutely. I think I'm thinking of the exact track.
It gives me like shivers. It's really cool.
I have a lot of problems with Axiom Verge.
Me too. I always tend to like get halfway or like 2/3 through the game and just like dropping it.
Yeah, you get stuck at the same point each time. I talked to my friend Shane about that as well, who played Axiom Verge, and he was like, "Yeah, I just got stuck like halfway through." Like, I wonder if there's some game design problem happening here.
Because like everyone's having kind of the same experience.
The exact same, I know exactly where they're getting stuck to, because every time I replay that game, which has been once, I also got stuck at that same place despite having done it before. So,
But I might just have like a thing with Metroidvanias. Where I just stop playing them halfway through. Like I played halfway through Metroid Dread. The thing I played like...
Oh, you didn't beat Metroid Dread? You're doing yourself such a disservice.
I played it like hardcore for like a week or two.
You know what? That Metroid Dread is actually a strong answer for a game whose music is letting it down.
Given that I don't remember any of the music, that may be true.
Like, I'm gonna be real for a second. Yeah, careful, everybody. Hot take
incoming.
Ooh, sound the alarm. Metroid, in general, only has decent music, and some of the games like they really don't have standout tracks, and the Ambulance is just fine.
You just said Ambulance.
I did not say Ambulance.
You did say Ambulance.
I did not say Ambulance. Go check the VOD.
It's recorded and posted on the internet.
We're gonna find out if I said Ambulance or not. The Ambulance is really pathetic in Metroid in general. No, that's not what I said.
So,
but Metroid Dread is even worse than most Metroid soundtracks. I'll say, in that it is sort of nothing at all.
Yeah.
Like, I can't remember. I can remember tracks from Metroid Dread, but I don't remember them because they're good. I remember them because I sat down with Metroid Dread and I was like, "What are these songs that I'm in my second playthrough that I cannot remember a single one of?" And then I listened to it and I'm like, "Yep, that's not memorable at all."
I can't speak for like most Metroid games because I haven't played most of them. I don't remember anything from Metroid Dread, which speaks for that, I suppose. I will say I think Super Metroid's music is really well done, and I think it's like.
Yeah, I mean, when you're comparing it, it's not in the greats of Super Nintendo game soundtracks, but it is quite good.
Going back to our like bangers definition, I'd say there's no bangers in there, but they all do a really.
I would say, like the. I think it's the theme of not the main theme of Metroid, but like the one that is in Smash that people associate with Samus's theme. That is a very
like
good
Norfair.
No, not Lower Norfair. I'm sad that I can't remember what it might just be Norfair actually. Now that I think about it, it's like but that was from the original Metroid, wasn't it? Now that I think about it,
was it in Super Metroid too? I cannot. I
think it was.
It must have been.
Anyway, that's a banger, but that's about the only banger from Metroid or Super Metroid that I can think of.
Yeah, but I would argue that the point of those games is not to produce bangers.
I mean.
The ambience,
however,
it's like an alien, like survival, like kind of creepy game, you know.
I would say that there's room in the boss fights for that atmosphere, and they don't pull that off.
That's a good point. There's a boss theme. Oh God, I can't remember. I remember.
I mean, I like Ridley's theme. Ridley's theme, but Ridley's theme is only good.
Was basically. It Ridley? I can't. There's the big man. What's his name? Big guy. Kraid. I think I remember liking Kraid's music.
I'll take your word for it. I can't place it myself.
I can't remember it at all. All I remember is like a distinct feeling of like, it's pretty good.
Well, yeah. Well, in any case, that's generally what I get from Metroid at the best of times is pretty good. Right. I really like for example, Lower Norfair or Magmore Caverns, as the case may be. That's a really good track.
Yeah.
I'd like Prime 3 in general and Prime 1 and some of Prime 2 as well have really good songs. Yeah. The Prime series in general does a better job than the mainline series, which I'm a bit sad about because I like a lot of the mainline Metroid games. Yeah,
I've never played a Metroid Prime. I don't know.
That's a shame. You know, Metroid Prime 1 Remaster just came out on Switch. It's $40. That's a really good deal. Got updated visuals. Game still holds up.
I believe I have multiple Metroid Prime games on my Wii U from that site.
Oh, you bought like the Metroid Prime trilogy for $20 on the Wii U Virtual Console and didn't play them.
My Wii U is like collecting dust in a box right now. I think.
That's your excuse now. What was your excuse 8 years ago when you did this?
I played it a little bit. I just didn't finish it.
I don't feel like that's much of an excuse, but all right.
That's me with like a lot of games. I just don't finish them sometimes.
Yeah, that's fair. I think Prime 1 and 3 do have like bangers, as I'd call them, and I also think that their ambient tracks are generally better than the mainline games.
Yeah.
But the main point of this that I was trying to say is, even with all of that said, Dread is a low point, which is a shame because overall I think Dread might be my favorite Metroid game.
I think it's you have to be careful with it because memorability is not necessarily a good
quality.
Yeah, it's not because even if you're bored with the music. Is it that it does a bad job?
Sometimes I will say it actually got a little grating sometimes. There were some tracks that were actively repetitive and almost annoying to hear.
Okay.
There weren't a lot of them, just one or two. And the rest of them were like nothing at best. So
yeah, because memorability, I think, in my opinion...
There's a great series on YouTube that is... I wish I could shout them out. If I can remember to link them, I'll do my best. That is... trying to remake songs from the Metroid Dread soundtrack, and they're doing a bang up job, by the way. They're trying to take like the soul of the original pieces and like trying to fit them to the area they're in, making sure that they're thematically appropriate, but like reconstructing them so they have a stronger core melody. And he's been going through a whole bunch of iteration with it, and he's been getting really solid at it. So I think it's just like remaking Metroid Dread's music is the name of the series. Really recommended to check it out.
I wonder if melody is really what Metroid needs, you know? Like, the tracks aren't designed to be, like, these memorable tunes, right?
Well,
They're all
like,
ambience.
but think about it, like the
I feel like the point in games like that is not to have like a tune to latch onto. It's
this is the same discussion that is had around Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, I feel the same way with Breath of the Wild, for sure.
I agree to an extent. But like I said, you can have ambience while also making your tunes memorable. Like I'd say, like, for example, the Breath of the Wild, like the song that plays in Breath of the Wild when you're just riding on your horse, those bleeps and bloops that eventually slowly transition into like a very soft retelling of Zelda's Lullaby. That song fits really, really well and is very nice, and is an example I'd point to of Breath of the Wild soundtrack being great, even though it's not really like a strong core melody at all, and it's even like sort of a remix of an old song, and that's something that I sometimes have a slight issue with. But like with Metroid, it's all so low-key. And again, this is more a criticism of Dread than the other games, but they fall into this a little bit as well.
Right.
Whereas if you take something... Have you heard like the abandoned ship from Metroid Prime 1? Or like Phendrana Drifts, for example?
I don't think so.
I'm gonna need you to rectify that, I'm being honest. Those are some like all-time classic songs, not just like Metroid songs, all-time classic video game music songs.
I may have heard them in the past, I just don't.
Phendrana Drifts, it doesn't really have a core melody, but it explores like the theme and the tone that it's trying to set, and it shifts and changes while still having that very pleasant and soft and ambient sound. It doesn't necessarily need a melody per se, but it needs to not even go somewhere, just do something.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think of something like Stagnant, and like I think some soundtracks.
Stagnant is the exact word I would use to describe a lot of Metroid soundtracks.
I think some soundtracks aim to be ambient by being out of the way, which I don't think is a great way to do that. I think it's good to have the soundtrack be present, unless the whole point is just to listen to your surroundings and have no music.
There is room for nothing to be playing in the background. Yeah. But like if you're
playing a sound, I think it needs to lend to what's happening. And so if you're lending to what's happening and it's ambient, you can do that without making it boring, and you can do that without making it stagnant. So
yeah.
Anyway,
I agree with that.
So we're at like an hour. Tune in next time for some Mario Galaxy.
Yeah, episode 1 is going to be all about Mario Galaxy 1 and 2.
Yeah.
It's one of our favorite soundtracks, both of ours, so we'll probably have a lot to say.
Yeah, I'm excited. I already started playing it. Again, I'm replaying Galaxy 1 right now.
I think I'm only going to be able to re-listen to the soundtracks, but I will re-listen to the whole soundtracks.
I don't think I'll be able to replay Galaxy 2 because I don't want to fish out my Wii U right now, but...
Gotcha.
Anyway.
In general, most of the topics that we're going to, like games that we come up with, we want to at least have played, and some of that will involve games that we're playing for this podcast as well, so that we can get like completely fresh takes.
Kind of like a book club is what we kind of envision it as. Like
more or less.
We come in with thoughts about things that we had consumed in the week prior, so... Yeah. Well, that's that. Yeah, thank you for tuning in. If you have all we know for sure is that this is going to be on YouTube. I don't know where else we're going to be able to get this posted right now.
We'll try to do it on Spotify.
We'll see. Yeah, I don't know how to do that yet, but I'll do some digging, see what I can make work. And I guess usually at the end of these episodes we'll talk about like, oh, what have we been playing? What other games do we want to talk about? But that was kind of this whole episode.
Yeah, that was the topic of the whole thing.
So that's that. We don't really have an outro. So see y'all later.
Should we make one up on the spot?
You know what? I trust your improv skills.
Hang on.
Give it a go.
All right, audience. Exit soundstage right. How was that? Pretty good?
Sure.